Here at the Summer League, and there's luminaries all over the place. Is that Nate Oates who just walked over? Did I pick that one up correctly, or is that a poor ID?
No.
By the way, if you want to pull
that
mic out, every once in a while, I still have it. Kevin Kruger's here with us. I'm speaking to him casually as we come on the air. First of all, appreciate a couple minutes.
Of course.
So what's this like for you? I know, I can't remember things, so I was looking up today a search. It was a Kevin Kruger Summer League. You played in Orlando, right?
I did. I played in Orlando for a couple and Salt Lake. I want to say Vegas's first year, it was still kind of in its infancy, and it certainly wasn't what it is now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't kind of the cool thing to do. And so, I actually somehow through my multiple summer leagues avoided Vegas.
How close do you think you were? Like, do you look back on your playing career and you're like, man, if I did this, or this had worked out? Like, how close you were to like making it a couple of years in the league?
Oh, I mean, all the time. I mean, not in like a woe is me sitting in in the rain crying or anything, but you wonder about this, if you handle this differently, or if you do a little better here, or because I had opportunities. I just wasn't able to get over the hump. And but yeah, you always look back and like, well, I wonder if that guy wouldn't have gotten hurt, they wouldn't have taken that guy. Maybe I could have had a chance there. But I think when you go through it, you just understand and appreciate how hard it is to make it into the NBA, and to not only make it but then stay in the NBA.
That's incredible, especially now that the international pool is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly a global game. I mean, we kind of always said it, but it was always kind of like, yeah, it's America, and then maybe a handful of countries that are producing legit NBA guys. But now it is truly just growing, which makes the those available spots even less.
What do you think it's like now as the game seems to be shifting for the guys who used to be the glamour guys? Like, I think it's incredible that Zach Edey is as dominant as he is in college. It's a player of the year. And then he goes to get ready for the draft, and all of a sudden he's looking around. He's like, there's not a place for me. Or, I got to watch Drew Timme up close here when they were in town for West Coast all those years. And the NCAA tournament, I'm like, this guy's a really good player. And now those guys are kind of looked upon like, hey, sorry, guys, you got to work your way into the league. The big guys, it's different now.
It is. It's a much more spread out game as well. You'll see a lot more switching. You'll see a lot more versatility. A lot more like-sized people out there, just kind of across the board. You don't see a lot of teams with a back-to-the-basket center. You don't see a lot of teams with a really small point guard unless they do something exceptionally well, of course, better than the rest. But, you watch a lot of games, even watching the end of the Oklahoma City and Houston game, you got a lot of like-sized guys out there that can handle, dribble, pass, and shoot it. And I think, even from the coaching aspect, when you look out there and you got five guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot, and you got five guys that can guard multiple positions, you're probably feeling pretty good about your chances of getting good possessions, and I think that's kind of just the way the game has gone.
We're at the Summer League here at the Thomas and Mack, and this is the home of UNLV, the Runnin Rebels, and head coach Kevin Kruger is here with us. We talked about your playing days. Where did you get to play internationally?
I got to play in Italy, played a little in China, Belgium, Germany. So I got to get to a few opportunities overseas.
So when you were getting exposed to all that, did you see some of this coming, kind of like the FIBA ball, the Euro ball? Maybe one in stretch elements. The bigs have to be skilled. Did you start to think ahead and go, man, like this is going to change the game in the U.S.?
Well, I think the biggest things that stuck was just how young their basketball programs are, how they're just inundated with passing, cutting, skill development, and even being able to work with the U19s team that just went over to Hungary. Talking to a couple of the coaches when they came back, they talked about these countries that they've caught up athletically, because that was kind of always the thing is they might be a skilled 4 or a skilled 5 and he's 7 feet tall, but at the end of the day he cannot keep up with the American guys. They're just bigger, faster, stronger, and no matter what he does well, it's going to be overwhelmed by the athleticism of the American roster. And I think now that was one of the first comments by one of the coaches was, hey, the 19-year-olds over there, the 19U team, they've caught up athletically. And I think, there's just so much more. I think with the amount of money that's in the game, the popularity of the game, it's just going to become get even more cutthroat getting into the NBA. Those spots are just going to be harder to get.
And college basketball is fascinating with the evolution because I think there are still some conferences that a lot of the schools are insistent, hey, we're going to play the 4-5. We're going to play the power basketball. I thought the Mountain West was one of the first on board where you saw. I'll go back to the years where the year that Brandon McCoy was here, right? And Brandon's a nice kid, and man, he came in and people started making adjustments. He was a dominant player, right? You take out Arizona at the time, dominant guy, and all of a sudden, middle of the season, there's everyone in the league is stretching him and making him go defend on the perimeter. I'm like, wait a second. What's happening here? This league is changing, and you're seeing across the country the 1 in 4 out or 5 out.
Yeah,
it's taking off.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and, the first team that comes to mind when you say that is Boise. With Dagenhart out there last year at the 4-5, Najee Smith was out there at the 4-5. You've got to be just always aware of where they're at, and then that gives the guards more angles to drive and make plays. And but yeah, I think the Mountain West is definitely one of the first conferences, along with a couple others, where they kind of, the big, 6'10", 250s. They usually go to the bigger name schools, especially 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So the Mountain West was one of the first to adapt, where you started seeing a lot more of the 5s that were a little more on the skilled side versus the size side, and had a lot of success with it. But yeah, you watch the NCAA tournament. I mean, you watch a team like Arkansas. They like to play 5 guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot, and they're all pretty similar sized, and they win a lot of games doing it that way.
So there was a couple times last year when you and I were talking, and I would mention, hey, there's some rebounding issues, right? And hey, do you go super big? And you were steadfast on rebounding is not about size. And if you go, positionless basketball, you have enough size, you can rebound without having 6'10" or 6'11" out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in that. It's always nice to have a 7-footer shot blocker out there, and we, you love to have it. But if you watch the leading rebounders, they're just not always the biggest ones. It's the guys that go and get it, and that's one of the things I think we'll be able to do this year. When you talk about having, Jalen Hill, is a great rebounder, only about 6'6". Lou Rodriguez is a great rebounder, about 6'6". Shane Noel gets in there and muddies it up. So it's not while Caleb Boone and Carl Jones and Isaiah Cottrell are all about 6'10". They're closer to the rim and it's easier for them to get, but that doesn't always mean it's the way it is. And but it's just about wanting to go get it. But one of the things also we did last year was we were heavy on a switching team. We switched everything, and sometimes that got kind of brought our bigger guys away from the hoop, which I think more so than anything that was where we struggled rebounding the ball versus just being taller.
So defensively, you feel like you've built the roster that you really want.
I do. I think because I think what it does is it gives us the option. If we want to switch 5, we can. When you talk about Isaiah Cottrell, you talk about Rob Whaley, who came in from CSI, Caleb Boone from Oklahoma State. These are athletic big guys, but what we've just got to hammer home when on the possessions we decide to do that is we got to go rebound it. But Jalen Hill's an elite defender, Lou Rodriguez is an elite defender, so I think this year's team will just have a lot of flexibility. You might see us switch, you might see us trap, you might see us play a straight up, more traditional style, but I think that'll be one of our advantages.
Kevin Kruger's right here with us, Cofield Co, ESPN Las Vegas at the set. The NBA Summer League at the Thomas and Mack. So I want to get some information out there for folks who don't know all these players. Maybe they didn't watch all these other conferences. What'd you like about the Boone twins?
Well, the Boone twins, watching them play against Oklahoma, I never coached against them, but I watched them in high school, and just watching them against my dad's team at OU, and then even talking to my dad after their games against them, it's a unique situation. They're twins, but one plays in the post and one plays in the perimeter. They're the same height. They're about the same weight. One is just incredible touch around the basket, and one shoots it as well as anybody that is returning in our conference. So, and their experience, of course. Anytime you have that level of experience, over 100-plus games under their belt, they can bring that experience and that maturity to the locker room and the court.
It's a very unique deal on a lot of fronts with Jalen Hill. So, back in the day, Marvin Menzies, they wanted him badly. He goes to Oklahoma. Obviously, you were very much involved in that. So you have a long relationship with him. What kind of guy is he from a leadership standpoint and a skill standpoint? And also, what does it mean for you to, you got DJ Thomas, who we can talk about, but, more of that Vegas flair, like the biggest players, and maybe at some point, if you don't get them right away, maybe they come back as a transfer. How big a deal is that?
Well, I think, Vegas has always been somewhere that has always been talked about the level of talent in the city and who plays and keeping them home. And I think Jalen deciding to be a Rebel was a huge step forward in that. And I mean that no disrespect to Isaiah Cottrell, who's here, but he's not a born and raised, throughout high school, through his entire career up to college in Vegas. So there's a little bit of a difference there. But we were excited to bring Isaiah back, of course, with the Gorman ties. But having Jalen decide, showing the local high school groups, the families, that I want to be at UNLV. I want to be home. I grew up there. It was great to me. It was great to my family. And I trust this coaching staff, this fan base, this program, that it's the right place for me to be. And I think, as you say with DJ Thomas, I don't know if it was the sole reason he came, but I don't think there's any way that Didon's family would tell you if it didn't have anything to do with it. Seeing a local kid decide to, put his last year of college basketball back home at UNLV.
I think DJ has been pretty cool up on social media. I don't know if you tell him to do that; he just does it on his own. But I kind of love building the kind of the teamwork, the camaraderie. You get some 24 commits, and he's welcoming them in. That's cool.
Oh, absolutely. But it all comes down to the ownership of it, and that's what DJ's done. Even before playing a game here, and some similarities to Jalen too. He decided I want to be at UNLV. I'm from here. I want to play for the school my dad played for. I want to be up in the rafters someday and point to banner with my team on it. And when you take that level of ownership, it just means more. The workouts mean more. The games mean more, and it's something that you can't really explain until you're kind of in that situation. But it's great to see. He's out there talking to kids about coming to UNLV. It just means a lot for him to help get guys to come here over the next couple of years when he's part of the team.
It's a weird question for a college basketball coach because the answer has to be yes in some form or fashion. Do you like recruiting? Because I've talked to you before about, man, what you guys do is incredible. And it's same thing, with all the big money in college football to kind of follow kids around from the time they're, 13 or 14, or maybe you get on them when they're 15 and 16. And then, a lot of your career is riding on a decision by a 17, 18, 19-year-old. And I'm unsteady. I would flip out, but you got to keep it together too, because, the relationships go on, there's connections below them. It's a crazy deal what you guys have to do.
It's definitely unique. I enjoy it. You get to talk to families, you get to go to places, see how things are done, and get to talk to different people about how things are, their lives and their experiences. But it's odd because my wife and I were talking about this maybe even a month ago. Using a story even recently, recruiting a kid for X number of years, not days or months, but years. And if they decide to go somewhere else, the communication on our end stops immediately. When a kid says he wants to go somewhere else, we stop immediately, and it's weird.
Is that by rule or your approach?
No, it's just
because I would think some others would be like, hey, you know what?
Yeah,
keep me in mind.
Well, when they sign, it's
right.
It's against a rule, but I want to respect if they're going to go somewhere else, they've made their decision.
Yeah.
It's not trying to pull them a different direction, but so all of a sudden you just stop, and that's a little different. There's not a lot of situations in life where you just kind of halt communication. But at the same time, it's kind of a numbers game. You recruit X number of kids. We don't recruit, especially with the portal now. We don't have a huge list of people to where, well, if we don't get player A, we got to go to B. Don't get B, you got to go to C. We try to put our time and attention and focus on the ones that we think will help build the best roster,
right?
Which gets forgotten all the time. But the best roster, like right now, that we're trying to build for the 24-25 team, and how those guys fit into there. And the way we see it is if we're going after somebody and they decide to go to a different school, chances are we'll just put that position in the portal.
Kevin Kruger's with us. Folks, start thinking about basketball, UNLVtickets.com, because the more I go over this roster, I'm like, my God. I saw Rob Whaley walk by, right? And I'm really excited to see him play, powerhouse guy and just explosive. And I know you had told me when you got him, good player. He's going to have to fight. That's how deep the roster is. He's going to have to fight a lot. Okay, I'm going to set up a question here by just making a radio comparison. So in radio, we've got a little crew here. I've got co-hosts. They rotate, right? I've also got a producer. Damon's our producer. Damon's actually relatively new to the show, right? So now we're working. I got to rely on Damon for certain things. What the hell was it like for you last summer as all of a sudden assistant is gone, and then one more assistant goes in what, June?
August.
Almost
August. Yeah.
I mean, you rely on those guys for a lot in season, but I'm sure a lot during the off season. And all of a sudden, you're trying to do the recruiting game, set up the season, and then interview new guys to come in. I mean, and those are very, tight relationships.
They were. Carlin Hartman was somebody I grew incredibly close with while I was at Oklahoma. Brandon Chappelle was in my wedding. We've been as close as can be since the day we met, almost 12 years ago. And then Coach Buckley, I worked with him here. But, I think my how naive I was to the college coaching, that head coaching spot. I didn't put as much weight in it. And I don't know if I would have done differently at this point. But at the time, I was just like, okay, well, we'll dust ourselves off, figure somebody will come in that wants to be here and be fine. And I think we have. But at the same time, there's still that learning process that goes on when you're in the office with someone. And, we didn't have anybody on our team last year that had been recruited by anybody on the staff. And I think that's where it at times it created a little bit of hesitancy. Just, there's no relationship that had been formed throughout the recruiting process. Right. So that's why we're really excited to have all three coaches come back. We've got the two new on-court spots that the NCAA approved. Both we elevated guys in-house. So it's a bunch of familiar faces to the guys. They've all spent a year with everybody here. The new guys are all recruited by coaches that are here now. So I think that'll be one of those things that you may not be able to say we won that game because of this, or we lost that game because we didn't have that. But I think it's one of those things that at the end of the year, I'm going to look back and say that it was really great to have those guys for at least 2 years.
By the way, who's the last kid that you just grabbed in the last 2 weeks as a big to complete the class?
Yeah, Jacob Benarby coming. He was at Donda Prep for a little bit, Kanye's school in L.A. And then, basketball guy, big, physical, strong, loves to play. Played with the Oakland Soldiers EYBL team. So he actually knew DJ from their time together on the Oakland Soldiers. So really excited to have him join. And again, it adds to our size, it adds to our strength, and that's one of the things I really like about this group. I think we're going to be able to be incredibly physical and just be able to play a lot stronger offensively and defensively.
I don't know how much of the schedule you can talk about on the non-con because I don't know what's official, but it looks like you've lined up a pretty aggressive schedule and actually going to test the guys on the road.
Well, absolutely. Of course, we got the game at Dayton, where we so we have to return that one. That's no secret. We've got, and I'm not even sure what's been officially signed at this point. I know, but I think this is a schedule that the UNLV fan base will be incredibly proud of. We did our best and had a very good non-conference schedule last season. Because again, you and I have talked about it off the show before. We don't look at the names. We look at the where the numbers. It's all about the analytics of it now. Where does a team finish? Where do you think they're going to finish? Well, where are you playing them? I mean, all those things go into effect, and that's where I thought we did. Deshaun and Will Saxon did an unbelievable job last year, putting us in a great spot at the start of conference season. And but this fall schedule is really going to challenge our guys. We've got some really good ones on the road. We got a couple of excellent neutral games. Some here, some one in Phoenix, one in Daytona Beach. Or a couple in Daytona Beach. So I think the fan base will really enjoy our non-conference schedule.
I'm fired up. I could do another 20 minutes, but I'm up against it, and I know you got stuff to do because I'm already prepped to start looking ahead and breaking down games. And I'll tell you what, I think you guys are going to be one of the favorites in the conference. Boise's going to be pretty nasty.
Boise's going to be really good.
He's got it humming now in terms of what he's building and the guys he's bringing in.
Well, they know each other. Yep. And there's a lot to be said for that. They're comfortable around each other. They're secure. We use that word in our program a lot. Be secure. You mess up, be secure. To have the security and your confidence that you're going to go, make a good play. And and that's what I think when you talk about Boise, that's the first word that comes to my mind. They're confident, but they're secure in what they do. And then of course there's that one team in San Diego that's been pretty good for a while as well. So
for folks who are jonesing for more basketball, we're going to have Coach Demal on at the end of the week. So we'll get into he's a great guy to talk to as well. He's a really good conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. UNLVtickets.com. We're going to take a break. We'll go into the grab bag to close things out.